Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's COVID-19 update. Today is May the 22nd of 2020. Today we have a few additional guests than we typically have, and they will be sharing information relative to COVID-19 as well as other events that are occurring within the city of Gary. Today we'll be joined by the Health Commissioner Dr. Roland Walker, as usual. We have a very special guest, two very special guests, by the way of Dr. Vanessa Allen-McCloud, who's the executive and president, CEO rather, of the Urban League of Northwest Indiana. And also joining Dr. McCloud today will be the Lake County Commissioner, one of my former colleagues, Commissioner Kyle Allen, and he'll speak about events relative to COVID and anticipated events that will happen on the county level. I did not mention, but Dr. Vanessa Allen-McCloud has a very special treat for us today, and that she's going to give us some current information about the census of 2020, as well as some encouraging ways that everyone can participate. We don't often talk much about the census during these COVID updates, largely because COVID has consumed most of our attention, energy, and efforts for the last 60 days. However, as we all know, that life has to continue and we must go on, and part of that is being able to realize the importance and the sense of urgency surrounding around COVID. So I'm especially eager to hear the comments from her today. As we open our beaches and parks for Memorial Day weekend, we can expect large crowds as usual. We expect this year to be slightly different in that most outdoor activities in Illinois remain closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and because of that, we certainly can expect more out-of-state visitors to our beaches. The challenge for us there is, do we close our beaches and restrict them to our residents and not allow them to have a venue in order to exercise, or do we keep them open with restrictions that will certainly guide and dictate the activity of those who aren't familiar with the restrictions of our community, as well as offer an opportunity to keep our residents safe? We defer to the latter, and to that extent, we have a few issues or elements that we'd like to share with you today relative to the beach. This sort of exposure will certainly continue as it relates to the COVID-19 virus. Please be absolutely vigilant in using social distancing, especially during this long holiday weekend. Also know that we cannot stop people from visiting our beaches without restricting the activity of our residents, but as Gary residents, we can certainly be smart about how we interact with each other and how we dictate and guide the activity of those who visit our city. In fighting the spread of the COVID-19 virus, I remind you of the following guidelines. If you are 65 or older, please continue to stay at home as much as possible. If you have serious health conditions, including diabetes, lung disease, or anything that might compromise your immune system, we ask that you stay at home as well, and certainly practice safe social distancing, because you are still in jeopardy of contracting COVID-19. Everyone that is older than 2 years of age is encouraged to wear a mask in public. Certainly not requiring that everyone does, but in any opportunity possible, we've even made efforts through a kind donation of one of our across-state partners, Dr. Willie Wilson, to provide additional masks to the residents of the city. So we ask that if you have them or have access to a mask and can wear it and you're 2 years of age or older than 2 years of age, you certainly use that as well. If you're having a family picnic or a gathering for the holiday weekend, please do not have more than 25 guests at a time. These steps may seem difficult, but they are necessary for us to continue to fight the spread of COVID. Houses of worship are anticipated to open on the first week of June. At least that's the directive of the city. But in doing so, we want to begin to let them know that we are easing restrictions relative to the houses of worship. It certainly does not mean that the virus is no longer a public health threat, but it does mean that we should strongly recommend our faith leaders to continue to practice safe social distancing, as well as to continue to provide services online in any effort or any event that it's possible. Houses of worship may be open after this weekend, or starting Sunday rather, with no more than 100 people at a time, with 6 feet of separation between family units and individuals. You may hold baptisms, weddings, funerals, and other important ceremonies, but please limit your in-person gatherings to no more than 25 people at a time. Relative to local businesses, beginning Sunday, we will allow the reopening of some businesses to 25% of your legal capacity. However, you must note that if your intentions are to open, you are required to post that occupancy at all entrances of your establishment and registers and points of sale. If you have a business that allows customer traffic, such as dining room, retail shopping areas, you may open that business with up to 25% of your legal occupancy at any given time. If you run a barber shop, a salon, or any other personal services businesses, you may reopen by appointment only. Please remember that when you do so, you may not exceed 25% of your legal capacity. If you have a bar with food service, you may reopen according to the terms, but if you have a bar or a nightclub or any other entertainment business that allows congregations of people, you may not open yet. In terms of city operations, if you are a department head or manager with the City of Gary, you will return to your office or facility on Wednesday, May the 27th. All other employees of city government will return on June the 1st. You will be contacted by your supervisor or department head with specific directions relative to your return, and note that we will be bringing persons back with staggered schedules. That ends my portion of the presentation. The next person you hear from will be our very fine Health Commissioner, Dr. Roland Walker. Dr. Walker.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, citizens of Gary. I have 4 topics that I want to, after I give the numbers today, I have 4 brief topics I want to give to you today. I'm going to keep them brief because I realize now, as I've told the mayor now, my daughter does not watch anymore because she's tired of seeing me on TV. So we will go forth in this manner. First, I will give you the numbers for Indiana. There are now 30,409 positive cases in the state of Indiana. There are 1,791 deaths. In Lake County now we've had 3,128 positives and unfortunately 166 deaths in Lake County. Gary, we are now up to 612 positive cases and 16 deaths. And keep in mind with that death number, there are several cases still under investigation, so that death total will go up. As far as our numbers, I just want to keep in mind, I want you to keep in mind that you hear that in the summer, the spring and the summertime, as we get to the unofficial beginning of summer, everybody always expects for those numbers to go down, partly because with viruses, what we expect to happen with the increased UV light, with the increased humidity, we expect the amount of viruses to start becoming more killed and less viruses to be out. And what I've noticed is that our numbers in Gary have not, the number of new positives daily has not gone down that much. And I bring that up because I've had some tutorials from our statistician, Mr. Martin Brown, and he's explained it to me in ways that I can understand because I'm not a statistician. And so we don't have great models yet. So I just want you to keep that in mind as we go and we make our recommendations. And I appreciate the mayor taking some of my advice and making his recommendations for the citizens of Gary, and it's greatly appreciated that he's listened to the science of it. So number one on my topic list is as sometimes I can't sleep at night because I'm worried at the unofficial beginning of summer that I know we're going to have gatherings at our beaches and our homes and so forth. So please follow the recommendations that the mayor has given. No gatherings no larger than 25 people because this virus is still present, and we want to keep our social distancing guidelines so that we can help prevent the spread of this virus. The second thing we're going to talk about is pediatric vaccinations, because one of the trends that we've seen, and as a pediatrician this is extremely important to me, is that the rate of vaccination has gone very low because people aren't taking their kids to the doctor because of this pandemic, and because people are getting more used to televisits, but you can't get a vaccination during a televisit. So now what is expected is childhood diseases are going to be more on the rise. So I want parents to keep that in mind, that we need to start getting back and vaccinating our kids. From a social aspect, I just want to point out that the African American community and the Hispanic community are 3 times more likely to know somebody that has died from COVID than our Caucasian counterparts. So I want you to keep that in mind so you understand the impact it has had on our community over the last 60 plus days. The last topic I want to address is this thing of immunity, as now you're going to start hearing the topics bandied about possibly having immunity cards, and how that could be very, it can lead to discrimination within our community, because a lot of people perhaps won't be able to afford to get the testing they would require to show antibodies for those cards. So those are the topics that I want you to keep an eye on, because those are the things that affect our community from a health aspect, and I just like to keep you abreast so you can just keep those things on your mind. Thank you so much. The next person that will be speaking will be Commissioner Kyle Allen. Thank you.
Good afternoon, citizens of Gary. I want to thank the mayor for allowing me to participate as it relates to county government and in advising the public in general and the Gary specifically as it is in my district in terms of county government. As many of you know, county government has been closed since mid-May. We have endeavored to provide core services given the restrictions that have been imposed or recommended, whether they be from the World Health Organization, the CDC, our city and county health departments. Excuse me, sorry about that. The core services that we have been providing obviously have been public safety through the sheriff, corrections, 911, the Lake County Health Department, and the county clerk. I would encourage individuals to please subscribe to the guidelines that have been stated by Dr. Walker and Mayor Prince. Also, from a civic standpoint, as you know, the election was postponed to June 2nd per the order of Governor Eric Holcomb. So starting next Tuesday through Saturday of next week, the day after Memorial Day, early voting will commence at all 11 normal regular sites from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then on Monday, June 1st, the day before the election, a half a day from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. The county is also currently conducting testing, partnering with Methodist Hospital. We have tested in Hammond, Crown Point, and now we are in Hobart. So those that wish to use, that require testing or feel the need, we will be at 325 Sullivan, located in Hobart, Indiana. You just need to bring your driver's license, proof that you are a Lake County, Indiana resident. If you have insurance, that would be appreciated. If not, it is not a requirement to get tested. Your health is obviously the most important thing. So again, county government, we will also be opening next week, Tuesday, May the 26th. Obviously, there will be guidelines in place, and in some cases, individuals will have to make appointments for certain services that county government provides. You can reference our website, which is www.lakecountin.org for more information. And finally, just another tidbit of information that the Lake County Fair, the 92nd Annual County Fair, will be canceled for this year. But 4-H activities will continue with more information forthcoming in that regard. Again, county government will be open beginning next week. If you have any information, please call, and we will be open for business to provide the services for county government. And last but not least, please fill out your census form, and I know that Miss Dr. Allen will provide the relevant information in that regard. So please exercise your civic and social rights, and please be safe. And again, I want to thank the mayor, the city council, Dr. Walker, Mike Gonzalez, and the gentleman behind me who are providing this venue for us to remain connected and provide the information that we need to the citizens, voters, and taxpayers that we all serve. Thank you.
Greetings. I bring you greetings on behalf of the Gary Census Count Committee that's made up of approximately 25 to 30 members. Some of those members are the administrative staff of Mayor Jerome Prince, healthcare, veterans, homeless, educational, NAACP, civic, and faith-based organizations. We have been meeting over the past 6 months to make sure that we are informed and we inform you about the importance of the census. Thank you, Mayor, so much for allowing me an opportunity to come before the citizens of Gary and just bring you up to date on the information. Right now, today, the most important decision you can make is to complete that form. Many of you have received that form in the mail, and some of you probably have thrown it under a pile of newspapers and magazines and whatever. It's laying there. While you are at home and while you are sheltered in so far, I ask that you pick up that envelope, fill it out, complete it, and send it in. Why? Because it provides funding that will come to this community. If you don't do that, then we're going to miss out on a number of things. Some of those monies that comes to this community include breakfast programs, free lunch, Head Start, your Pell Grants, your Medicare, Medicaid, senior citizen housing, Social Security payouts, and so much more. Right now, the national census response rate is 59%. Response rate means you have either responded by mail, or you have responded by telephone, or you have responded by computer. So the national level is at a 59% response rate. Indiana's response rate is 64%. Lake County's response rate is 64%. And I'm going to drill down a little more. Gary, Indiana's response rate is 44%. So we have a 64% on the national level, 64% on lake level, and then we have 44% for Gary. Hammond, all right, they're at 58%. But we need to get above them. And I'm asking you, pleading with you, because did you know also the census is important to the election? Yes, the election. Next week, Commissioner Kyle Allen just spoke about the early voting. We need you to come out and vote early. Some of you have already sent in your absentee vote letter, and you've received back the mail where you can fill out the form. It looks like a lottery form. I received mine back, and I was just tickled because I don't know how to play the lottery, but don't let me get off script. Anyway, I need you really to fill out that census form. You can go to www.my2020census.gov. That's www.my2020census.gov. Or you can call the Urban League office or go on our site, because there's also information for people who needs additional accessibility, like Braille, large reading, or we have a video on my website for sign language, in case you need that. You can call my office at 219-887-9621 for more information. Just remember, it takes a village. It takes all of us working together. Dr. Martin Luther King said, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter." Remember the labor of our ancestors who lived, who walked, who marched, who died, just for us to have the right to be counted. So join me, each of you. I count, you count, we all count. And we want it to count so that we can get the funding that we really deserve. Thank you again, Mayor Prince, for this opportunity, and thank all of you citizens. And again, if you have any questions about the census and or voting, the Urban League stands ready to assist you, and you can call 219-887-9621. Thank you.
So I want to thank all of our presenters today, Dr. Walker, Commissioner Allen, and certainly Dr. Vanessa Allen of the Urban League. And before I close, I just want to reiterate one point from each of their presentations, because all of them were not only pertinent information, it's very, very relevant and necessary information. And so we'll start with Dr. Walker's premise about us reopening this weekend. He's right, there will be a lot of activity, and we anticipate, because of the restrictions that are in Illinois, that we may see an even increased amount of persons here. I want it to be known that we've spoken with the police command staff, and they're prepared to respond accordingly to any instance where there are people gathering where they shouldn't be, or gathering inappropriately, as I should. We want everyone to have fun, but we want you to be safe first. And to that extent, our Gary Police Department, as well as Fire Department, will be very active this weekend. Relative to Commissioner Allen's point, as it relates to something he said about, I believe, being counted or something else. Maybe I'll come back to his point, and it'll come back to me. There's a lot of information that's been shared today, and we certainly want to reiterate it. But to Dr. Allen's point, Dr. Allen, thank you for the presentation. And if you're receptive to it, I certainly would like to welcome you back on a weekly basis, along with Commissioner Allen, to talk about the things that are going on in the county, but to continue to stress the importance of this census. I want to let you know that our administration is fully committed to assisting you in the complete census count efforts there. Commissioner Allen mentioned about reopening in the county, and he also mentioned about early voting taking place. And he certainly is accurate in that that is just as important as everything we do. And I certainly want to thank the county for their efforts to extend the early voting hours, especially in light of COVID-19 and a lot of the restrictions that have been placed on us. In concluding, I just want to say that we wish everyone an enjoyable, safe weekend. We certainly want to remind us of all the men and women, first responders, who continue to make personal sacrifices, up to and including compromising, sometimes in some instances, the safety of their families as they go out and try to protect us. And just remind you that if you see a first responder, please give them some encouragement and let them know that they're appreciated and acknowledge their service. Things are improving, as we've always anticipated they will. And at some point, we'll certainly start to realize some new semblance of normalcy. No one really understands exactly what that looks like by now, but we do know that whatever it looks like, it's going to take a collaborative effort of all of us, and that's the only way that we will successfully get through this. I remind you to stay calm, stay patient as you possibly can, and please remember that the only way that we'll get through this is together. Thank you again, and have an enjoyable holiday weekend.